Hey everyone, so this video is going to be about active spirituality versus passive spirituality, and basically how I define that. So basically the parts that I would define as active are like anything like sort of Gnostic, Gnostic sort of parts, like Gnostic Christianity, paganism, Wicca, ceremonial magic, these kinds of things, where people believe that divinity is immanent in the world around them. They can relate with and communicate with divinity themselves, and basically that there is more truth to be discovered, and they want to be the people to discover it, firsthand themselves. And then passive type parts are more the kind of thing where you go to church, you stand up, you sit down when you're told to, bow in a certain direction. You look up to a representative of the church to give you the information as an intermediary. Now, both are completely fine, People need different things, we're not all the same. We have different capacities, interests, all of these kinds of things. Now, basically, the fact that there are two ways of relating, it's always pretty much always existed in humanity. Like in a village, in a tribal society, there might be a shaman, and it's that person's responsibility to be actively spiritual. That's their job, and then they relate whatever they discover to the people who live in the village, essentially. And it's the same ancient Egypt as well. They devised a sort of system where they had one religion that had the active and the passive aspects worked into it. And they were sort of the originators of the mystery school as well. As far as I know, I don't think that there was another known civilization that had mystery schools. So basically, like the general people would, worship on the holy days. They would listen to the holy men speak, all the rest of it, and they would follow the religion that was sort of delivered to them. And then there were other people who had the privilege of, they were interested in, and they were able, because of the social class that they belonged to be a member of the mystery school. And in the mystery school, the person is basically put through different initiations and experiences so that they can commune with deity and have these sort of revelations themselves. So, basically there were a lot of people in that society, or in any society really, who don't have the time or the inclination to be actively spiritual, but they still feel a calling to be connected with it in some way. Now, I think really that this has something to do with a lot of the conflict between the pagans and assorted people from assorted magical traditions and the Christians and other monotheists, is that they don't understand that wrapped within their own traditions there is a mystery school or an active strain of their religion, which does believe that God is immanent and can be communicated with, and that there is more truth to divine, essentially. And that's basically just the only difference. I mean, we're not denigrating their relation to it, but there is more to their own tradition than they perhaps know. For instance, there's mystery schools in Christianity, the mystery schools in the Jewish tradition. I don't know about Islamic. I'm sure there is too. For instance, I mean, often in any story, religious stories, there's a story within a story. Now, if you look at, the old Jewish books, because of the way Hebrew language works, you can write something and then have a hidden meaning in it, because Hebrew letters are symbols for things and numbers as well. So you could have like this story that to a certain bunch of people means one thing, and then to people who are schooled in interpreting the hidden meaning, there's another meaning to it as well. And there's a lot of symbology in Christianity as well that can be interpreted in non-literal ways, and probably is more wise to interpret in that way. Now, I'm not going to make any claims about that. You guys can look into that yourselves. I'm not an expert on that. But yeah, so basically all I think is that I think really that there needs to be greater understanding in the wider, sort of worldwide community between the people who are participating in the passive tradition and those who are participating in the active tradition, basically not to disrespect each other. I mean, because both are equally legitimate approaches to religion. Both bring solace and knowledge to those following it. And really, not everyone can be a person who goes to the frontiers and sort of puts themselves out there. Not everyone dares to do that, essentially. So perhaps we should have a bit more understanding for those who don't dare. And perhaps those who don't dare should have more understanding for us. So I hope that made sense. It's kind of a half-formed thought drawn from my research and personal experience. So I hope someone got something out of that. And I'll speak to you guys later. Blessed be.